Hello there. I am Jeff Hall, the Senior Editor for Diagnostic Imaging. I recently spoke with Morris Panner, the President of Intelerad Medical Systems. Panner is also a member of Forbes Technology Council and previously served for a decade as CEO of the medical image management company Ambra Health. During the video interview, Panner shared his observations from the recent Society for Imaging Informatics and Medicine conference. He also discussed recent survey research showing an increasing patient acceptance of artificial intelligence or AI, and a more gradual try-it phase for many radiologists as they discern the most optimal fit for AI in our current workflows. To that end, Panner also reviewed key aspects of Intelerad's enterprise imaging and informatics suite. It is Panner's hope that by emphasizing improved efficiency and quality in radiology workflows, the system can, quote, free up brain space for great diagnostics, end quote. Now let's get to the interview with Morris Panner. So as part of a recent release about an Intelerad survey you guys did of over 1,000 healthcare consumers, there's a strong confidence among patients about the use of AI with medical imaging. I believe 79% of those polled say they trusted or were neutral about the use of AI to assist with imaging diagnosis. Yet, other cited research in the release noted that currently 30% of radiology providers are using AI in practice. Can you talk about that disparity and maybe why there's been kind of I don't want to say a slow adoption of AI, but maybe a more gradual look at AI in practice, and maybe people are just still kind of getting their arms around it?
Thank you, Jeff. It is pretty exciting at Intelerad to be able to think about how AI can affect patient outcomes. And I think that is the key. When we look at the adoption of AI, I think more than anything else, we have to be able to connect that with patient outcomes. And I think one of the reasons you see patients, consumers feeling comfortable is in so many parts of our life, we're used to kind of computer-assisted diagnosis. And I think that's how it is perceived. It's going to make our doctors stronger. The adoption, though, is tricky, as you point out, because it has to both meet the needs of the physician, it has to help the physician accomplish their tasks, and fit into the existing workflow. And those are challenges that I think we are still working on alignment.
Okay. What are some of those maybe key hurdles that you're hearing and seeing, when working with radiologists when it comes to possible implementation of AI in our practices?
So at Intelerad, we spend a lot of time with radiologists because in many ways, we are their desktop, and providing that kind of their diagnostic tool set to them is really a privileged position. To incorporate AI into that, you have to be able to see a benefit. You have to be able to do more in some ways than you could otherwise. And I think right now we're still at that stage where a lot of people are trying to align the wide variety of options that they have with exactly where that will have the most impact. So I think you see almost every practice dipping their toe in, but what we haven't yet seen is the adoption at scale. And I have some ideas of what's going to drive that, and I think it will happen. But right now, I would say we're definitely in the try it phase for most.
Okay. Are there any potential issues with the privacy of patient data in regard to the implementation of AI? I believe you touched upon this at the recent SIM conference.
So I was very fortunate to sit on a panel with Dr. Gandhi and Dr. Chen from the Cleveland Clinic, who we've worked with, both physicians who are active in marrying up that research component and the clinical delivery component. And it is one of the more exciting areas of how do you make sure that you balance patient privacy we're not strangers to any of this. We see it all the time in clinical trials. We see it all the time in de-identified data sets, which are used for different purposes. But one of the things that is so exciting about AI is you are starting to have the potential to really help people. And as you protect their privacy, sometimes you want to kind of break through that to be able to give back results that might be helpful to somebody. And that's what I think starts making the ethics and the marriage of research and clinical care so exciting.
Now, one of the challenges you hear about in the radiology community is the idea of reducing administrative burden with documentation and being able to spend more time on interpreting images and patient care. Now, I know Intelerad recently launched the Enterprise Imaging and Informatics Suite earlier this year, and it was spotlighted at the recent SIM conference. Can you talk about how this system can help radiologists with efficiency?
Absolutely. And at Intelerad, one of the pieces that I'd really say one of my favorite slides that we always present is something that talks about increased quality and increased efficiency. And I think for most radiologists, that's the touchstone. There's nothing more important to every physician than providing a quality outcome for a patient. That is why they do what they do. But at the same time, with the pressures as they are today, being able to take their intellectual energy and put it towards, I want to call them more fun problems, because when someone's not well, it's never fun, but more challenging intellectual problems. And what Intelerad has really done with the combination of IntelliPax and Clario and selective use of AI for prioritization and for queuing, so that you're always getting the most relevant study, and increasingly for adding in capabilities to do kind of routine measurements, that starts to give the radiologist, all of a sudden, she can put her energy where the highest order brain power really should go. And that's what this is all about, enabling workflow, if you want to think about it as to free up brain space for great diagnostics.
In regard to the SIM conference, were there any new developments that surprised you at the meeting? Were developments that you were particularly excited about coming out of the conference?
The SIM conference for Intelerad was a little bit like being with our people. It is a really great group. And what was so wonderful is to see how imaging data is taking its rightful place as one of the most important drivers of health outcomes. We are taking imaging data and taking it out of kind of the narrow silo and truly building that interoperable framework. And I think Intelerad and Ambra, why we came together was because a PACS system is no longer a new invention. It's important and you can always improve it. But what people are really looking for now is how to free that data, take that pixel information and share it, use it with other types of data, and advance liquidity and flexibility in data management. And that was the revolution that came out of SIM this year. You could feel the energy in the room as people thought to themselves, I'm no longer in a radiology reading room. I am now afloat on a sea of data where I'm working with others, interacting, and it was just a very exciting energy coming out of the conference.
Is there anything else you wanted to add?
So one of the things that I think Intelerad also was able to do at the SIM conference, and which I think is incredibly important to Intelerad and to Ambra as well, has been a push for health equity and access. And really, we have spent a lot of time, and at the SIM show, we met with and sponsored a movement called Rad Equals. And Rad Equals is really an effort to bring more access to women and to other people, basically, who feel that they have been less able to access radiology leadership roles, other kinds of opportunities. And Rad Equals was really a brainchild of Dr. Geraldine McGinty, who was the chancellor of the ACR. And this year we had Dr. Nina Kotler from Rad Partners, an AI pioneer herself. to really announce award winners and to kind of spotlight the continuing focus on opening up the profession and truly making sure everybody has an equal footing and the best and the brightest can advance. The other thing we highlighted at the conference was RAD-AID. We worked with Amina Alahi from the University of Pennsylvania, a wonderful person who has given of herself to help the underserved globally. And RAD-AID has really invested, and we have supported that, in bringing the benefit of diagnostic imaging around the world, sort of a Médecins Sans Frontières without just the focus on primary care, but really trying to bring radiology into the field. And that's a great thing, and we're very excited for it. So SIM to us had the feeling of a little bit of a social movement in that regard to bring more health equity and access both here and around the globe.